If there were genres that I would say are the most diametrically opposed, it would be comedy and drama. Drama attempts to make something serious and build tension, while comedy attempts to make light of something and relieve tension. If you have both in equal parts, they will keep canceling each other out. It would be like if a person regularly drinks Mountain Dew, but he's ever lonely on the weekend. These things clearly don't mix. However, there is a way to balance both comedy and drama so that instead of canceling each other out, they build on each other instead. Yakuza 0 is a master at balancing both comedy and drama. It does this in the best way a video game possibly could. What helps it is being one of the most human games I've ever played, and it takes it one step further by being completely and unashamedly over the top. Yakuza 0 is a crime drama game that serves as a prequel to the first game in the series. It stars Kiryu Kazuma, a stoic, strong, and passionate man whose story comes from how he is being framed for a crime he didn't commit while his organization is willing to throw him under the bus for it. And Goro Majima, a tall, slender, eye-patched man with a fetish for being hospitable, whose story is about desperately trying to re-enter the Yakuza organization and then being told the only way back in is to do something he doesn't want to do. This is a big, detailed, narrative-driven game with a bunch of smaller games inside it, including a brawler game, a rhythm game, management game, Eurobeat game, and more. And this game just oozes charm from how eccentric and over the top it is. Being over the top is present from its combat to its story. The eccentricities from the characters' actions just help elevate every step of the game. The combat is flashy and entertaining, which is great to see and satisfying to pull off, and also builds in your mind just how strong you are. You are an invincible Yakuza, beating down any goon who gets in your way, taking down rooms of thugs like they are nothing, shaking down the Mr. Shakedowns. You feel like a goddamn superhero. There is nothing that can stop you. Oh no. Time for some dew. That is truly the genius of the game design behind Yakuza. It's subtly subversive. Every single aspect of this game builds on each other, making it way more than the sum of its parts. For instance, because Kiryu and Majima perform so many great combat feats, that when the game places you in an awkward situation, the subversion of their badass Yakuza image is funny. Likewise, because it's so silly, it will gut punch you with thrilling drama when you get complacent from the silly comedy. However, everything comes together like a fine, expensive dinner, made with the finest ingredients, state-of-the-art techniques, and served with a crisp, empowering Mountain Dew. Now, unlike me, this game is very funny, but it's not outwardly comical. It isn't in-your-face funny. This is a game that presents itself very seriously. The overarching plot is never played for laughs. The graphic design is meant to be photorealistic, for the most part, and not portrayed in a comical style. So the style of comedy used is subversive comedy, when you expect one thing but then get a nice little surprise in a comical fashion. Going back to the graphic design, the locations are based on real places with very similar landmarks, stores, products. Even the street layout is very similar. It tries so hard to get you immersed in this world as though it's part of the real world. The game has a bunch of details that try to make the world seem lively and lived in, that you could see yourself walking down the streets of the game yourself. It does all this so that when he starts to do something out of the ordinary from what you expect in real life, it's funny. For instance, look at the way a phone is answered in this minigame.
もしもし。
It is so excessive that you can't help but find it funny. Yakuza's comedy is buried deep within the game's surface. While the overarching plot is completely serious, some of its side missions, characters, and parts of the world aren't. This is a game where if you aren't playing through the side missions and exploring what this game has to offer you, then you are doing yourself a disservice. Moving now to the drama, the game takes advantage of how over the top it is as a tool to build tension. The story can be melodramatic, but that is also part of what makes it glorious, because of how consistent it is in its own eccentricities. You grow accustomed to it in the story. I would bet that if the story wasn't as melodramatic, it would come off as forced, boring, or even cringy when comparing it to the other parts of the game. The tension comes from how the interpersonal relationships work. Here's where the realism of the game comes in handy. Everyone has an idea of how serious organized crime is and how dangerous it can be. and so it borrows that concept from the real world. So while the main characters you play as are unstoppable armies of brute strength and tenacity, the real power can be felt from the incredible performances and body language given by the characters. You can just tell on an instinctual level who the person wielding power is in every scene, even if you don't understand the language. Now some might say the story's melodramatic, and it is. However, the tension is not just built from the power the characters hold, but also in the confrontation of ideals. Each character is expertly written to have their own goals, motivations, and ideals, even the side characters. The conflict in this game comes from not there being a stronger person you need to beat, but from how the antagonists are forcing the protagonist into situations that conflict with what they believe in. The tensions created from being on the cusp of breaking your beliefs is the driving force behind the drama in the game. So what balances both the comedy and drama is just how human Yakuza is. From the outside looking in, it's hard to see, especially when in combat you're pulling the old man of steel, but don't worry, everyone's Daijobu. This is because the gameplay is designed to be completely consistent with the character's ideals. The series creator Toshihiro Nagoshi has a design philosophy that murder shouldn't be fun and committing crimes isn't fun, and this comes through in the game. It completely avoids the problems that open world games such as Grand Theft Auto 4 have. In Grand Theft Auto 4, Niko Bellic is always talking about how he wants to avoid crime and violence and have a simple life. Yet, when you control him, you are constantly committing crimes and mowing down people. Unlike in that game, there is no cognitive dissonance here in Yakuza. As a player, you can't really attack random people, you can't steal cars, you can't hire prostitutes, you can go bowling though. All of this makes the game's narrative and drama stronger and more believable, therefore more immersive. What Kiryu and Majima say in story is laid consistent with the gameplay, the sub-stories, and actions you can take in the world. This game is written so well, it's hard not to endlessly praise it for that. I said earlier that you would rob yourself if you didn't play through the side missions, and that is because the side missions not only introduce new one-shot characters that are also very complete characters, but they also flesh out the main characters you play as. You legit don't get half the game if you don't play the sub-stories. Here you might help a TV crew by impersonating a producer. You might help a guy running himself ragged doing errands. You might help a woman by pretending to be her boyfriend to her dad. All while trying to get on the radio by telling the DJ all about these events. Each character introduced here have their own stories, goals, themes. It feels human because even though everyone here is so quirky and wacky, and you yourself are an unstoppable god of breakdancing, when you boil it down, it has themes that everyone can recognize in the real world. The TV crew you work for learn that even though you might not understand their work slang and fit in, they can still appreciate when a stranger helps out. The guy who was running non-stop errands for his girlfriends realizes he needs to stop running from the truth he was being used. And by pretending to be a boyfriend, the dad realizes that being overprotective made his daughter lie to him. You can relate to these real-world lessons that connect you to the world you live in with the world of Yakuza. By learning more about the main characters, Kiryu and Majima, you get a firmer grasp on what makes them who they are. And this adds to the drama because now that you've learned more about their ideals and how consistent they are with them, the idea of them betraying their beliefs is engaging. A side effect is that this also creates hype in the game, because when the antagonists try to make the protagonists bend, you are with them when they won't. This game is truly a masterwork. The game's cinematography, staging, voice acting stands out and all comes together so that even without subtitles, you can tell what a character is feeling just by their body language and tone of their voice. The comedy in this game allows you to further bond with the main characters and see what their ideals are, while the drama in this game pushes what you know about their ideals to the breaking point, which is what creates the tension. Yakuza 0 is over the top in every way. It's over the top funny, it's over the top serious, it's over the top hype. And the most important reason it's able to accomplish all of this is because the game is 100% human. In attempts to look and feel real, you can put your presumptions of the world into the game and allow it to subvert them in a way that is both grandiose and develop tension. Yakuza 0 is a prequel to the first of a long series of games, and with Sega looking like they are doing their best to update their earlier works in the series, I believe this is intended to be a new, optional start for getting into the series. If you're looking for a deep narrative game that doesn't take itself seriously, but also takes itself seriously, then this is the perfect place to invest days into. There aren't many games like this, eccentric, over the top, and human.